Hey everybody, Mr. Moore here, just with a quick safety video about the chop saw. This here is a chop saw. We call it a chop saw because it kind of makes a chopping motion like this. It's also called a miter saw because you can cut at angles and do different cuts like that. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about the safety of a chop saw or a miter saw. So first we should probably talk about when do you use this type of saw. This type of saw is for using what's called a cross cut. Okay, so if you have a long board, and we've talked about grain in this class, the grain is kind of flowing this way. If you want to cut against that and cut off just a piece of that length, and you want to cut it this way, this is the saw that you're going to use. It's called a chop saw. So it's not for cuts like, if you can see this, we don't make long cuts like that. And obviously you can see that this blade is long enough to do that. This is for just kind of chopping off a little bit of your length of the board. So we have a length of board and we want to just snip off a little bit. So that's when we use the chop saw. And typically what we do is we make a little tiny pencil mark where we want to make our cut. So here I'm going to make my cut, right above this little notch of my board, and that's where I want to cut. So you're going to want to mark it with a pencil. And the most important safety thing that you have to remember about the chop saw, there's two really important safety things. The first thing is you have to make sure that your board is all the way against the back fence. So right back here, this is called a fence. A fence is very important with each machine, but this is the fence for the chop saw right here. And you need to make sure that your board is all the way way back against that. And all of your board is against that fence. That's really important. So if you try cutting it out here and it's not against the fence, then your board will slam around and move around a lot, and it could pull your fingers into the blade or something dangerous like that. So it's really important that you know that needs to be up against that fence at all times, and you really need to hold it up back against that fence. So that's rule number one, to make sure that you're up against that fence. Rule number two for the chop saw is that you can't get your hands near the blade. And that's true for pretty much any saw that you're going to be using in this class. But here, on the chop saw, they actually have two really nice lines. And you can see those two nice lines. And it says, there's a little picture of a hand with a, line through it saying, don't put your hand past that line. So there's a line here and a line here. And you can't have your hand past that line. So you do need to hold this board against the fence. But it's really important that you don't hold the board over here past the line. You've got to keep your hand back here on this side of the line. Now, every once in a while, you've got to cut a small piece of wood on here. You still can't put your hand close to the blade. You still can't pass that line. So what we do in that instance is we'll use a little clamp right here so that our hand isn't anywhere near the blade. But if you're going to do that, I would like to be around to help you out with that, just to make sure that your saw blade doesn't hit the clamp. So we have a little pencil line in our board. We put our board down and we shove it all the way back on the fence. If you have a really, really, really long board, don't just try to hold it down and hold it steady. These arms right here extend outwards, and you can pull these out to kind of support your board. So what we can do is take these arms, we can pull them out like this, and we're going to rest the board out, so that we don't have to worry about trying to keep our board steady. It's really important that everything's against the fence and everything's steady without us working on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure our board is against the fence. We're going to hold it down with this hand here, and we're going to cut with this hand. What I don't want to see is kind of crisscrossing like this. That's dangerous, okay? So whatever side you're holding on, the other hand comes like this, and there's no crisscrossing of your arms, okay? So I'm going to hold with this hand. I'm going to cut with this hand. If I was on this side, then I would hold with this hand and cut with this hand. So I'm not crisscrossing my arms, okay? So I put the board down and put it up against the fence. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the blade down. You can see when I pull the blade down, this fence kind of starts to come up a little bit and the blade starts to show. You can measure that blade up with your pencil mark to make sure that you're about to cut it in the right spot. And I'm happy that is the right spot right there. I can move my board around with my thumb a little bit and make sure that I'm cutting it at the right spot. And I'm happy with where that blade is coming down. And I'm all against the fence, and I'm holding it with the hand, and I make sure that I'm behind that line. So when I'm feeling ready to make the cut, I'm going to turn on this vacuum system right here, and that's going to pull the sawdust away. I'm going to hit this trigger, and you can hear that it kind of has a little bit of a jump when you start it up. It's got some power to it. I'm going to wait for the saw to get to full speed. You don't want to try to start cutting right when you hit the trigger. You're going to hit the trigger, and you heard it wind up like that. You want to have it fully wound up before you pull it down and make your cut. I'm going to pull it down, make the cut, and then I'm going to release the trigger while it's still down. Let the blade stop while it's down, and then slowly lift it back up. So this is what it looks like. Turn on the fan. Hold it against the fence. Let the blade stop. And it's that easy. And now, as you can see, I've cut off the very tip of the board. So as you can see, guys, this is when we have a very long board and we want to cut off some of that length. We're cutting against the grain like that. And it cuts off a little bit of our length. That's the chop. So remember, 2 rules. Make sure you're against the fence. Make sure your hands do not go over that line. I think that's about it. Thank you for watching.